Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to my video where I will be explaining the Counterstrike Iceberg. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing on the Iceberg is P90 Rush B.
Guys, rush B. Fast. Very fast.
Don't stop one shot.
12 seconds later.
Nice rush. Epic rush, guys. Epic rush.
Yes, indeed.
Now this just refers to a common strategy that a lot of silvers and other plebs like to do, which is to just rush B with P90s. I think it originated largely on Dust 2. And the funniest part about the rush B strategy is that over the years it's been associated with Russians and yelling "Suka bliat" and running in and holding down left click and the W key. So rush B is definitely a classic for any CSGO player who's either new or old. Nicknames for map positions just refers to the callouts that we give on maps, the comms, the one's long, one's cat, one's house, one's wherever. That's basically what nicknames for map positions is. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Next up, we have Valorant and other competitors. I just want to say, if you play Valorant, you can go ahead and click off this video right now. You're not wanted in the Counter-Strike community.
For every kill you get, I'll give you an ooh.
Alright, bet.
No, but in all seriousness, there have been a lot of competitors to Counter-Strike over the year, like Overwatch, Call of Duty, Valorant, obviously, but the game's still going strong to this day, so all those other competitors can go fuck themselves. Next up, we have CSGO's Overwatch system. Now, this was a system that existed. I don't know if it exists in CS2, but basically it allowed for players who had a high enough trust factor score to go in and review demos of players and basically determine whether or not those players were cheating and what types of cheats they were using. I remember back in like 2015, 2016, this was a really fun system to use. It was nice just during downtime to do some Overwatch, get some cheaters banned because, you know, we all hate cheaters. And there was actually a lot of content made about doing Overwatch as well. I don't really know what happened to it, but yeah, that's CSGO Overwatch. And lastly, rounding off the silver tier, we have the free-to-play update controversy. Now, this controversy, I guess you could call it, is just when CSGO went from being $15 to free-to-play. I don't really think this was much of a controversy at all. I think it was more so people were worried about cheating, people were worried about people being able to access the game and install hacks or maybe do malicious stuff, but I don't think it really got any worse than it was when the game cost $15, because if you're going to cheat, you're probably willing to pay $15 considering a lot of cheats cost a lot of money. So yeah, that's it for silver tier. Let's move on to silver elite master tier now. Now this part of the Iceberg is again pretty boring. Most of the people know this stuff. We'll start off with Suka bliat.
You play CSGO, you just say rush B and go. When you meet Petrenko, you ask him for Malago. Suka, 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 blять, suka, 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 blять, suka, 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 blять, suka, 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 blять.
It is associated with CSGO because CSGO has a large Russian-speaking population, player base, and I guess the term got really popular in, I'd say, 2014, 2015, 2016, when there were videos of Russian players yelling "Suka bliat." I mean, if you just look it up, you'll see tons of videos about that. So, yeah, "Suka bliat, motherfucker." Bot removal just refers to bots being removed from the game. So previously, if you had a player abandoned or a player who got kicked, it would be replaced with a bot.
The bot just jumped fucking like one. The bot just fucking jumped.
Let him ace, let him ace, let him ace. Come on.
You could press E on the bot to take control of them. They would usually buy really dumb shit. I don't know if anyone else remembers, you used to have to press Z and then press 4 and say hold your position to the bot on your team to try to get them to stay in spawn so that if you died, you could actually take over the bot. Because if you didn't do that, it would just run down mid every single round and die. So, rest in peace, bots. Next up, we have Counterblocks. Now, Counterblocks is basically just a Counter-Strike port for Roblox, I think.
Oh my god!
And the game is not necessarily ported, but it's a remake of Counter-Strike on Roblox, and there's actually like competitive tournaments and stuff for Counterblocks too. I think it's all kind of silly. Just play CS, play CSGO, play CS2. But yeah, Counterblocks. If you're young and you want to play Counter-Strike, I guess you could do it on Roblox. So these next two have to do with gambling in Counter-Strike. So first we have CSGO gambling sites and lawsuits now.
And we found this new site
called CSGO Lotto. So I'll link it down in the description if you guys want to check it out. But we were betting on it today, and I won a pot of like $69 or something like that. So it was a pretty small pot, but it was like the coolest feeling ever.
This is a really big one. So in around 2014, 2015, you had websites like CSGO Lounge popping up, CSGO Lotto, obviously, CSGO Empire. You had tons of these different gambling websites, and part of the reason these gambling websites were able to strive so much is because they were completely unregulated, completely unrestricted. Anyone of any age could go onto these websites, gamble their skins away, and I'm very guilty of doing this when I was younger. I was a kid. I wanted cool skins. I wanted to, the thrill of gambling when you're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. You don't really understand the repercussions of it. So yeah, this one was really big, and I think it's still a big issue today, but as far as the lawsuits go, there was basically a cease and desist letter from, a cease and desist letter from Valve basically trying to shut down a large amount of these gambling sites, and it lasted for a few years where these gambling sites were no longer able to operate, but they slowly started coming back no matter what type of regulations Valve tried to put in place, like the 7-day trade ban on items and that sort of thing. I mean, there's still lots of gambling websites you can go on today, and I would say it's kind of just a big part of the Counterstrike community, these third-party gambling websites. I don't think it's anything Valve could necessarily fix unless they want to just keep going after these websites, but in that case, there's always going to be a new one that pops up. So yeah, I don't know how to fix this problem, but it's definitely something that's associated with Counter-Strike is gambling and child gambling and whatnot. And that's actually a perfect segue into the last thing of the Silver Elite Master Tier, which is gambling for kids controversy.
Fuck! Shit, man! It's fucking bullshit!
I think this is essentially the idea that CSGO has all of these, loot boxes within the game, and that these loot boxes can, you pay $2.49 to buy a key, and then you have a chance of opening something super expensive, but it also could be crappy. And the fact that it's completely unregulated, and some are saying it's targeted towards younger people and whatnot, that's the controversy with it. I mean, from a business perspective, I don't think you can really fault Valve. I mean, almost every game has some form of microtransaction or loot box or something like that. I think it's actually kind of genius the way Valve was able to create an entire, marketplace within their game. So for this one, I think it's difficult to say whether Valve is being malicious or whatnot. I would personally say no, but this is definitely something that has, over the last 10 years of Counter-Strike existing, been a point of contention for people. And yeah, that ends the Silver Elite Master Tier. So next up on the list we have AUG Week. Now, what's interesting about AUG Week is it was actually the update that added stickers to the game, also ended up buffing the AUG and the SG553. Now, keep in mind, this is in May 2014, so almost everyone only used the AK-47 and the M4A4 or the M4A1S. No one used the AUG, no one used the SG553. But what happened is, with this new update, the fire rate of the AUG was completely changed. It went up to 750 shots per minute. It was completely overpowered. Everyone was buying AUGs. You could go into any lobby, buy an AUG, absolutely shit on the opponent's team, and Valve ended up nerfing it pretty quickly within about a week. That's why it's called AUG Week, otherwise known as the AUG Apocalypse. And if you were there at the time, which I was, it was terrible. People talk about the R8 revolver being a really overpowered gun, but this was insane AUG Week. This was the first time, at least that I can remember, that there was something that was almost game-breaking that existed in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Next up, we have Clutch or Kick.
Clutch or Kick fade.
What, bro, what are you doing? It's
what you say? What you say? What you say? What you say? What you say?
Now, this one's really funny. So Clutch or Kick just refers to the fact that if someone's in a clutch situation in Counter-Strike, you basically tell them clutch or kick. If you clutch the round, you get to stay on the team. If you don't clutch the round, we're going to kick you. Now, 99% of the time when someone says clutch or kick, you're not actually going to kick them. But there are those very small 1% of the times where someone will start a vote to kick the person who's in the clutch. They fail the clutch, and everyone presses F1 at the same time, and the person gets kicked from the game. It's really, really funny when it does happen. But clutch or kick, I think, is something that has been adopted by other FPS games, but it originated in Counter-Strike. Next up, we have the idea of a ninja defuse. So a ninja defuse is when you defuse the bomb while there's still terrorists alive. And usually you do this by hiding in some sort of what we would call rat position. So this could be, there's a position called Ninja on Mirage. There's a position like Boost on Mirage. There used to be a Boost on Inferno that you could go up to, and you'd basically sit there with a smoke grenade and a defuse kit, and you would wait for all the terrorists to start exiting the bomb site. And maybe they exit a little early, they're a little cocky, and so you take that opportunity, you throw your smoke grenade down, and you go for the defuse, and that's called the Ninja Defuse in Counter-Strike. So I'm pretty sure everyone here has done a Ninja Defuse before. Ninja Defuses are pretty sick. They're a pretty staple of Counter-Strike. Ooh, next up we have the iBuyPower throw controversy. So during a match in August of 2014, North American team iBuyPower, consisting of AZK, Swag, Steel, Dazed, and Skadoodle, threw a match against Netcode Guides. Now, Netcode Guides had some players you might recognize, such as Tarek at the time, but what people forgot to notice was that there was a website called CSGO Lounge. And I talked about this previously during the gambling section, but CSGO Lounge allowed for you to gamble on games. And so what these iBuyPower players did is they had their friends Cud and Deborn bet on these games using a bunch of different accounts. They bet on Netcode's Guides winning, who were a massive underdog to win the game. During the tournament they were playing, whether they won or lost the game didn't really matter, so they felt like they could throw the game at the time. They ended up throwing the game, or what we would call nowadays match fixing. The story was broken by veteran journalist Richard Lewis, and in January 15, the update entitled Integrity and Fair Play was released by Valve, in which all 5 of the players, aside from Skadoodle, were banned permanently from Counter-Strike.
I gotta say, the entries are looking a little weak from iBuyPower along with the strats. I mean, they're just doing very basic things. They're trying to just fully attack these sites and not really using any smokes or pop flashes for the most part to their advantage.
Doesn't go for the shot. He's going to try and get the flank off. He's going to have 2 right there. Can they line up for him? What is he doing? Why did he hesitate so much?
Not even rust. Maybe it's just jet lag. I don't know. But yeah, they are not performing how they should be.
And Tarek shuts it down. Netcode Guides beating iBuyPower on season 16 till...
Could, Deborn, Casey Foster, Dazed, Swag, AZK, Steel, R.I.P. Ladies and gentlemen, R.I.P. We've just had like 5 players, 1 gambling dude, and the guy who runs Netcode Guides have just all received VAC.
The newest update we have on this situation is that Steel is actually going to be unbanned in January of 2025, exactly 10 years after the iBuyPower throw controversy. But this controversy was not only significant for North America, but it was significant for the entire Counter-Strike community. Because at the end of the day, during this time period, Counter-Strike's players were professionals, but they weren't making the type of money we think about today. They weren't making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. And so it kind of exposed the fact that many players were struggling for money, and they were willing to do things like match fix games in order to, make enough money to survive. And another interesting thing about it is that there were probably a lot of other teams that match fix games at the time in the tier 2, tier 3 level, even maybe at the tier 1 level, but they had never been exposed for it. And so when iBuyPower, a tier 1 team, one of the best teams in North America, got permanently banned for doing it, Valve sent a message to the Counter-Strike community and basically said, this is not going to be allowed, this is not going to be something that we as a company are okay with. If you are caught match fixing or fixing games, you will be permanently banned. And so Valve took a pretty hard stance on it. It was very controversial at the time. There's tons of videos made about this if you want to learn more, but that's the iBuyPower throw controversy. R8 Revolver Day.
You can one-shot somebody with a fucking pistol!
Now this is similar to AUG Week. This refers to December of 2015, when the R8 Revolver was introduced to the game. And when it was introduced to the game, it was actually a one-shot body shot, and so it was basically an op that you could purchase for the price of a deagle and one-shot people in the chest. It was completely overpowered. Everyone was using the R8 Revolver. There are clips of all the streamers at the time using the R8 Revolver. You could basically hop into any lobby that you were playing and use the R8 Revolver, and it was completely broken. There was no point of buying rifles. A lot of people posted things on Reddit saying that they were quitting the game because the R8 Revolver came out. I mean, it was completely broken. So Yeah, that was already at Revolver Day. It was at a time when I think a lot of the people who are playing Counter-Strike today were playing because late 2015 was when the game had already kind of blown up and garnered a pretty dedicated fan base. So yeah, this is probably one of the most famous like weapon controversies in Counter-Strike history. So Source 2 port for CSGO, I think this is just referring to the possibility of them porting Counter-Strike to Source 2, but as we already know with Counter-Strike 2, that has already happened, so I think this one's kind of redundant. But yeah, CS2's out. Go play it. So next up, we have Payday 2 map in CSGO. Now, I assume this is just referring to the map Bank that appears in CSGO, which is a reference to the game Payday 2. This is something pretty common of Valve to do, is to reference other games, especially other popular games on Steam, and especially other Valve games such as Portal and Team Fortress 2. And that's actually a good segue into the next point, which is weapons appear in Team Fortress 2. Now, this one I'm not too sure what the author of this is trying to mean by saying weapons appear in TF2. But I think it's just the idea that a lot of the weapons like sniper rifles and that sort of thing appear in Team Fortress 2. I'm not too sure about this one. So to begin Master Guardian tier, we're going to go ahead and start off with the Fnatic 4-man op. So the Fnatic 4-man op just refers to a play that actually got a graffiti in the game that occurred during the ESL 1 Cologne 2015 Grand Finals, where the Swedish team Fnatic, with people such as JW and Olaf Meister, played against the French team Envious, with names such as Apex. Now, what occurred was that Apex went to go peek down mid, and when he peeked down mid, there were 4 Fnatic players, all with AWPs, who immediately shot him, and Anders, the commentator at the time, said, "Not in this lifetime."
Look at the guns, 4 AWPs, Fnatic, they're ready to shoot some ducks as they cross the middle. It's going to be a challenge, and Apex, not in this lifetime. He is destroyed.
It's one of the most famous, like, pro CS moments, I guess you could say. It obviously got a graffiti in the game, and so yeah, it was kind of the peak of when competitive Counter-Strike was becoming really popular. Next up, we have the Coldzera Op 4K. Now this one, if you're even remotely a fan of Counter-Strike, you've definitely heard of this one before. So this occurred during the semifinals of the MLG Columbus 2016 Major. The Brazilian team Luminosity Gaming, which had a player named Coldzera at the time, was playing against Team Liquid, who had Simple, Hiko, players like that. And the score was 15-9, and everyone was just expecting Liquid to win on Mirage, make it through to the grand finals. NA was finally going to represent on the world stage, but what happened was absolute chaos, as you can see from this clip.
Here he comes once again. The first base is a Dren. He's going to hit the ground there as Cold. Oh, what? A jumping double from Cold. What is going on right now? How does he do this? Cold has saved Luminosity with the AWP play. Unthinkable scenes there on the B apartments.
And so after this round, Liquid was not able to get their momentum back. They ended up losing the game. It was a really devastating loss for all of those players. Simple was benched after that, but he ended up playing with them as a stand-in at the next major, which they actually made to the grand finals of. But I would say myself that this is probably the single-handedly the most iconic Counter-Strike global offensive play that I think has ever existed, and I think that anyone who has ever watched Counter-Strike esports knows this clip 100%. Next up, we have Chicken.
Chicken in the lobby here. Really wants to play. He has a good rank as well. You can see that he has the level to play in this semi-final.
Invite him. Chicken, get the fuck out! People is stupid sometimes. Why they joining on my stream? Chicken, get the fuck out!
Now, Chicken just refers to a anonymous profile. No one actually knows who it is, but it was someone who was joining pro lobbies during actual events. And they were just named Chicken, and they would somehow find a way to join the lobbies of pro players, and it was really funny at the time when you'd just be watching a live stream and they'd show you the lobby of a team, and it was maybe JW, Olaf Meister, players like that, and there would just be some random guy named Chicken who would join, and so it was kind of a joke at the time, but I don't think it's been around for the last like 6-7 years. It was mainly a thing back in like 2015, 2016. So yeah. Next up, we have Olafmeister burning Diffusal.
Device around the world we go, but the diffuse is coming in. He's still going. Oh, Olaf just about gets it as the flames come in, and look at the little dance of happiness.
This just refers to a time in which Olafmeister was defusing the bomb on Overpass, and it was a really, really close defusal. It was kind of hard to tell whether it was going to work or not, and he ended up defusing the bomb with like 0.01 seconds left or something crazy like that. And the commentator at the time, Lauren Pansy Scott, was freaking out. She was like, holy crap, he defused the bomb. And then they panned the camera to Olafmeister, and he was doing a dance in the stands, and it kind of embodies everything Fnatic was known for at the time. But yeah, there was a graffiti made for this one as well, so that's the second Fnatic graffiti in the game, and yeah.